against Stanford in that contest, and UCSB 49-7. And then Virginia Tech on their side through the playoffs. They've had quite a battle against UVA. 3 times they've defeated them, and in playoffs 29-20. And then their win against UCF punched them their ticket to get here 34-5. It was 29-0 at 70 minutes in, and they were able to work it wide through the backs and utilize a lot of skill to get here today. Virginia Tech has been working for years to get to this point, and BYU dropped down from D1 Elite to be in the Division I competition here. We're in for quite a battle, Jonathan.
Certainly are, as we set up for the kickoff here. Virginia Tech, Kern Carr will start off the action. Kick goes just inside the 22, fielded cleanly there by number 7, Kylie Clark, the 21-year-old out of Albuquerque. As BYU looks to set up the rhythm early. Through the hands of Grange. That pass not quite finding the hands there, maybe a little bit of early nerves. And Virginia Tech will have their first attacking opportunity just inside the BYU 22.
Butterflies fluttering a bit there for Kylie Clark. She just wanted to go forward with the ball, but just dropped it off the back of her hip. It takes a little while to get settled, but already Virginia Tech looks like we'll have a blood sub potentially. A physical play within the first couple of minutes. One of the highlights of being here for this Division I women's competition is that we are in store for some really solid, hard hits from both sides at these two programs that have long held storied traditions of rugby at their universities. As we'll see that blood subs getting attended to for Virginia Tech as Katie Calderon will step in.
BYU, 2 years ago, featured in the final of the Women's D1 Elite Championship. Back this year, after a 1-year absence, into the championship at D1. Virginia Tech sets up for the line out, fielded cleanly, and they'll set up the driving maul. Great driving maul. Look at the speed and pace of that maul. Absolutely jogging speed. Stopped at just about 5 meters out from the BYU try line. Dream start here for Virginia Tech. Cower to the outside to Vitali. Vitali carries it to gain line. Looking to move it back to the right, into the hands of the replacement, number 22, Calderon. Right again, back into the hands of number 7, Haley Morgan. Tech taking their time to set up here, and they'll get the penalty at the breakdown. Going quick is Carr.
Penalty was for
not quite happy with the mark, though, and they'll come back and have a chance to take it again.
Jonathan, you get the sense that Carr really does want to push the tempo here for Virginia Tech.
Beautifully carried there by number 3, Jane Duncan. Gets him right onto the 5. Back into the hands of the number 8, Amelia Greasy. Looking out wide left. Carr looks to ship it out to Jetta Owens. Just doesn't quite find her. It gets into the hands of Nadja Ross. Ross taken down just about 2 meters behind the 22. Flipped out quickly to the number 15, Anya Fisher. Fisher couldn't quite handle it, though. Slight knock on, and BYU will have a chance for a scrum just inside the 22.
Fisher did her best to just try to see if she could dribble that ball forward, and the knock. But Virginia Tech full head of steam here, wasting no time to really push BYU. And Carr looking to move the ball as fast as she can towards the outside, getting the sense that what they want to do is really play with the edges to put BYU on notice. Couldn't ask for a better attacking start for Virginia Tech. And here's an opportunity for BYU to regain some possession and launch quite a forceful attack here.
Scrum is held cleanly by BYU, but lots of pressure from Virginia Tech Hokies. The kick from Morissette is up. Handled cleanly by Nadja Ross, but Ross loses her footing slightly. Tackled well by number 6 there, Stanley. Virginia Tech keeps it in the forwards for the number 5, Rachel Flame, 21-year-old out of Granby, Connecticut. Back into the hands of Jane Duncan. Tech goes right again. Carr's going to swing it out to Jetta Owens. Owens finds a little gap. Nothing of it, though, for BYU's defense. Brings her down right on gain line. Tech looks to go back to the left through the hands of the forwards. Haley Morgan. Morgan brought down strongly on gain line. Donegan goes to the right this time to Carr. Carr tackled well there by a rushing BYU defender. Tech taking the moment to resettle. But a moment too long as BYU is able to come up with a big turnover just inside the Virginia Tech half.
Not releasing is the call. Penalty awarded to
A very fortunate turn of events here for BYU as they're going to take their time. Looks as if they could kick to touch for this one. Virginia Tech, we saw earlier that very quick rolling maul that they were able to bring forward. And BYU wants to test them here in the set piece as they'll kick directly into touch, and I will set this up.
That will set up BYU's first line out of the day, just about 10 meters into the Virginia Tech half. So far the action has been mostly Virginia Tech, but we're only 5 minutes in, but a frenetic 5 minutes it has been.
And Gracie Pierce checking back in, who is getting attention for that blub sub. Great work from Calderon, who stepped in and made a couple of quick ball carries right away. Just to get herself back into the match right away.
BYU opts for the four-person line out, very cleanly taken. They swing it out to the forwards, they carry it right back to the gain line. Looking to go right again. Grange out to Morissette. Morissette feeds the 12. Triple, the freshman from Boise. Not quite able to hold on to that in the contact, though. And the knock will give Virginia Tech a chance to launch their attack again.
As Jetta Owens on the defensive pressure, just laying herself out. Tipped the BYU player just enough to force the knock on.
Owens, the collegiate All-American Sevens player, the 21-year-old out of Clarksville, Maryland. Virginia Tech scrum now, just in the midfield, lined up with most of the backs to the right, but just one to the left with Nadja Ross. An interesting midfield setup. Tech able to hold, but under pressure from BYU. They move it right to the hands of Carr. Carr swings it out the back. BYU brings it down just on gain line. They'll go from Donegan into the hands of number 5, LaFlame. LaFlame finds a little gap and takes about 5 meters out of it, but BYU is over that ball quickly. Donegan back to the left. Big tackle there from the BYU number 1, Hannah Beagley, the freshman out of Eagle, Idaho. But a slight infringement there at the breakdown will give Virginia Tech a chance to kick into the BYU half.
Hannah Beagley, quite a force here for BYU. An exceptional athlete, part of the program, the Kevin Higgins Scholarship finalist. Quite a force to be reckoned with. You absolutely want to evade that defender as much as possible. Virginia Tech will inch their way forward.
Tech opting for the full line out, just beyond the 10-meter line in the BYU half. One of the forwards set up in the 9 position. Interesting to note there, perhaps signaling their intent to go back to the rolling/sprinting maul. And they do. But this time the ruling is not straight on the line out. And BYU will have a chance to opt for either the line out. They do opt for the line out now. Just between the 10 and the 22 in their own half.
Unfortunate miscue for Virginia Tech there. Seems to be a potent weapon that they've been able to utilize. So BYU will go to the back, but the ball flips over.
Into the hands of Donegan. Donegan moves it outside to the hands of Vitale. Vitale with a little work to do there in contact, but steps back in and handles it well. Out to Carr. Carr to the hands of Owens. Owens was ready for that ball, saw a little gap, wanted to drive her way through, and does a great job of taking 3 BYU defenders to bring her down. Back to the infield to Duncan. Duncan charges forward, but is met very well by the number 7, Kylie Clark. Back to the left again. Carr out the back to the forwards, to Greasy. Sorry, all the way to the corner to Nadja Ross. No space there on the outside available for her, though, with Erickson making a beautiful tackle. Donegan taking her time, setting up, coming back to Greasy. Greasy carried well, and BYU putting a lot of pressure on this breakdown. A little too much pressure, though, as they come in, shoulders down, and they're penalized for diving over. Which will give Virginia Tech another chance for Owens to drive down the field with a kick and potentially set up the line out.
BYU very aggressive in that breakdown. Just unfortunate to gain that call. There's a lot of diving over on both sides of the ball there. Went to the advantage for Virginia Tech, and Owens with quite a long distance kick will pin BYU well back into a point of defense here for Virginia Tech. You've got to think that they're going to go with that brilliantly orchestrated maul that we've seen before, but they've got to hit the mark on the throw.
They do set up again in a 7-person setup, 7-person line out with the forward in the 9 position. There's the swap for the 9 to move back. They bring it to the front, not handled cleanly though this time. Donegan taken well behind the line by Emily Briggs from BYU. Virginia Tech flooding the breakdown with forwards. Good forward play though there on the pass out. BYU again getting hands over that ball and slowing it down. To the hands of number 5, LaFlame. Donegan looks right to Carr. Carr looks to swing it. Back to the inside, though, to Duncan. Duncan gets him right back onto the gain line. Donegan to Carr. Carr to Vitale to Owens. All the way to the outside of the number 15, Anya Fisher. Great contact, but she squeezes through. She's in the middle of the field. Dancing feet, but a lot of BYU defenders scrambling back to cover her. There's space here to the left side if Virginia Tech can move it. They do move it, but it's right into the hands of LaFlame. The big lock carries strongly. You can sense them wanting to pour on the pressure now to the hands of Carr, who pitches to Greasy, but Greasy is met strongly on gain line by the BYU defense. To the left again, Donegan goes to the number 6, Brown. Brown moves to the corner, but BYU covers it well. BYU's pulling this out of the breakdown and may come away with the turnover, and they do come away with the turnover. BYU able to turn this one over just inside their own 22. Back to the waiting hands of Morissette. Morissette puts this kick in right, though, in front of Anya Fisher. Fisher not quite able to handle it cleanly, but gets into the open field with Owens on her outside. Well tackled there, though, was Anya Fisher by the BYU 13, Rachel Stratus. Carr moves it back into Donegan. Donegan feeds it to the waiting Virginia Tech forwards in midfield. She'll go again through the forwards to Jamie Kokkonen, the 22-year-old senior from Newmarket, VA. Slow ball coming out here. Donegan to Carr, to the outside of the hands of Owen. She skips a little bit, throws it out to the wing, but BYU meets it well. Just inside their own half now, Virginia Tech. To Carr again, right into the hands of the forward, but that will also be a forward pass as she tries to hit Amelia Greasy. Didn't quite find the connection. Will give BYU a chance to go on the attack here, just inside the Virginia Tech half.
And BYU showing some good patience defensively. Their first couple of defenders right around the edges, doing a good job of connecting, but there definitely is some space to work with if Virginia Tech can just get past that first line of defense there. And here is BYU's opportunity. They definitely have been pushing the ball forward, a lot of pressure being piled on.
Scrum is stable, and it's a good platform for BYU. The number 8 picks up. Sandy Connick finds space to the left side, drives through one or two, takes about 15 meters and a few Hokie defenders before she's brought to ground. BYU on the attack now, moves it back into the infield. Great run there from one of the locks. Back to the infield again. Into the hands of the forward, number 3, Briggs. Briggs breaks, she drives through the tackle, and Emily Briggs will open the scoring of this match for BYU. The big prop in the midfield goes for a 20-meter break to put BYU on the board, 5-0, 13 minutes into this game.
And how about that for some senior leadership from Plymouth, Minnesota, Emily Briggs. Phenomenal work there. Former member of the Stars and Stripes program in 2016. She just has a full head of steam going forward, and look at that fend off right to the face. She was going nowhere but to the try line, and Briggs, a very tough ball carrier to bring down. And BYU absolutely took advantages where they were given to them. Just some slight miscues in the communication with Virginia Tech, turned the ball over. And you get the sense that Virginia Tech has to regroup a bit. You got to tackle low if you're going to find some athletes with that amount of mass going forward.
Certainly no panic or discomfort shown for BYU in that offensive phase. They've had quite a season taking on Air Force, the Air Force Academy, the 2018 fall women's D1 champion. A pair of matchups, coming out victorious over that and splitting a pair of games with D1 elite foe Central Washington. Coach Tom Walker really pushing his team with the high-level competition and shows that it paid off there. Conversion is good, and that will take BYU out to a 7-0 lead 15 minutes into the first half of this women's D1 Spring Championship.
Credit to BYU really for weathering the storm of the first couple of minutes. That was all Virginia Tech, and now just gaining more confidence as they go forward. But here is the point in time where the Hokies have to react to what's been going on. They don't have to have the panic set in and really just keep working and go back to that point from that quick start.
Kieran Carr's kick right onto the 22, not quite cleanly fielded by BYU. A knock on there. And Virginia Tech will have another opportunity to attack right on the BYU 22, just about 20 meters in from the right side touchline.
And that's the type of miscue that just gives coaches fits, that little bit lack of communication. It's all about calling who's going to go for it on the restart in particular, and then listening to one another and making sure that you don't afford this opportunity for a scrum deep in your territory with Virginia Tech at the advantage.
The scrum will reset again. Just came down on the right side there initially. Virginia Tech looking for an opportunity to get the ball into the wide channels. Their number 13, Jetta Owens, certainly very instrumental in their scoring in their previous matches. Want to get it out wide, but also their forwards doing great work so far this game, carrying hard to the line. We'll have the scrum again. Again, just inside the 15 or outside the 15 from the right side touch. Big engagement there.
Plenty
and
of
BYU puts on the pressure. Still covered cleanly there at the back by Greasy. Greasy offloads to the scrum half Donegan. Donegan taken down well. Virginia Tech picks and goes. Jams it up with the forwards through number 7, Haley Morgan. Out to Carr. Carr to Vitale, back inside to Owen. Owens met by a host of BYU defenders, though, just 10 meters into the BYU half. Back into the hands of Jamie Kokkonen. Kokkonen makes 2 or 3 meters out of that. We'll see it go to LaFlame. LaFlame throwing it to her forward partner, Morgan, as Virginia Tech starts to try and establish some rhythm in their attack. Out to Carr. Carr continues to move it to the right side there into the outside channel where it's brought down by a number of BYU defenders, and they come back in the infield to LaFlame again. LaFlame steps back inside, and it takes 3 or 4 Cougars to bring her down. Donegan to Carr again. Carr moves it wide to Vitale. Vitale to Owen. All the way, skip out though to Naja Ross. Naja Ross almost slips the tackle but can't quite get it. And number 11 from BYU there, Heather Erickson, causes all kinds of trouble at the breakdown but just loses her feet. Carr looking to go quick again. Choosing to settle, though, take a moment. The referee wants to have a word with BYU.
Love that decision-making by Virginia Tech just to skip over Jetta Owens as well to get it to the hands of Naja Ross. You get the sense that BYU's really queuing off on her. She's quite a game breaker. And Owens does so much work, does a lot of the kicking duties for Virginia Tech. And Carr, an inspirational leader for this team too. Good, solid decision-making. They're trying to get the ball out wide, see if they can tire out some of the BYU back line, and that will eventually create the gaps they're looking for.
Kick by Owens. Not quite making it to touch. Finds the hands of number 15, Kainoa Aquin, who does receive it though. Dances a little bit. Gets herself out to the 22, drives through contact, offloads back to the inside on what looked sure to be a ball that was going to be driven out of bounds. A beautiful work to get it back into the hands of Sandy Canuck. BYU sets up just inside their own 22. Morissette drops back into the pocket, puts it to boot. Right into the midfield to the hands of Anya Fisher. Fisher looks to attack right. Dances a little bit, but is tackled well by number 13, Rachel Strasdis. Tech looking to regroup here and start their attack again. Beautiful kick clearance there by BYU. To the hands of Carr. Carr back to LaFlame. Very common connection so far this game. You see BYU putting a lot of pressure on that breakdown, but now the ref is going to the pocket. And I believe that'll be number 1, Hannah Beagley. I believe. No, sorry, number 3, Emily Briggs, who's going to be sent off there. You saw the warning, Katie. Several phases later, you see what happens.
Yeah, certainly this could be quite a blow to BYU. Emily Briggs, she was a try scorer earlier. She does a lot of the ball carrying as well, and she's a formidable threat on defense. Referee Aguiar making this call, and now BYU's forced to play man down.
Ball goes right to Owens off the tap from Carr. Owens gets Virginia Tech just across the halfway. Back to Carr and LaFlame. Again, the big forward driving it up to halfway. Donegan sets up to Carr. Carr looking to swing it outside but steps back in, but she's tackled very strongly by a BYU defender. Out to the midfield to Brianna Lynch, the hooker from Bear, Delaware. Out to the outside to Pierce. Pierce slips it to Anya Fisher on the corner. Virginia Tech taking their time to recycle here. Donegan feeds it back in field to Jamie Kokkonen. Kokkonen does well to keep her feet and give her teammates a little bit of time to recover. Donegan to the short side to LaFlame. LaFlame dances through 3 or 4 BYU defenders before they take her down just over the halfway. Donegan to Carr. Carr looks to kick, sets up a little chip kick through the middle. Nobody home there for BYU. They have to chase back. Chased well, though, and taken by the BYU back 3. He danced through and are continuing to going. That's Alicia Baker. Alicia Baker in the open field. It's just Anya Fisher she has left to beat. Baker swaps the field almost 40 meters out of that. BYU goes left quickly into the hands of Aquin. Aquin finds one of the BYU forwards on the corner there. They recycle it in the outside channel. They're now just outside the 22, between the 22 and the 5, as BYU looks to establish their rhythm again. Back into a very similar pattern as their first try, through the forwards in the middle, the hands of Hannah Beagley. They move it right to Morissette. Morissette sees a little gap, steps in, but the Virginia Tech defense collapses on her. They go right again, through the hands of Larissa Graham. Graham gets her way back to gain line. BYU looking to really establish some rhythm here. But BYU just guilty of infringement of coming in through the side there, relieve the pressure of the Hokies, and now they'll have a chance to kick their way out of their own 22.
And Jonathan, a brilliant sigh of relief there for the Hokies as Virginia Tech is going to take all the time they need to regroup. That was just some fast action going both ways. The whole sequence started out with a kick from Kern Carr into the space and really forced BYU to scramble back to get it. A lot of pursuit from the centers from Virginia Tech, but what they weren't anticipating is some brilliant work from the fullback from BYU. Kano Aquin absolutely took the ball in hand and rushed upfield, forcing Virginia Tech on the back foot. Elisa Baker actually was the ball carrier there. She's been doing some fantastic work, but it just talks about really that high-risk play going forward. It was into the space, but they've got a secure ball.
Virginia Tech able to secure the line out here. Slight miscue, but they carry it through the hands of number 6, Megan Brown. Looking to reestablish their pattern. Referee trying to give some instruction there at the breakdown to make sure it's exactly how she wants it. They carry it again. But BYU has come up with a big turnover just inside of the Hokie 22. They're looking to move it right through the hands of Morissette to Beagley. Beagley's driving forward through the Hokie defense. Morissette again working his scrum half, moves it back to the hands of Gabrielle Peterson. Peterson gets her way through the defense and takes another 5. Now from Grange out to Morissette. Morissette moves it wide into the hands of Triple. Triple all the way out to the 13, to the 15, back into the hands, the 14 of Alicia Baker. Alicia Baker right on the try line. Not quite able to get there, and it looks as though the ball has come loose. I believe we'll have a little bit of question here between Aguiar and her touch judge to see if that was grounded or how that ball came loose. But great work there from Baker, the former BYU track and field star, who's crossed over to rugby.
Well, you can certainly see how the speed will come in handy there for BYU, and it's almost unfathomable that Virginia Tech was able to scramble over just to get them in the nick of time, because that was some really extra effort they had to put in defensively.
After consultation,
BYU had plenty of room to work with. They certainly had an overlap and a lot of extra effort put forth by the Hokies.
Looks as though we'll come back to a 22-meter dropout restart. Ball touchdown in the end goal there by the Hokies off the slight knock from BYU. Jetta Owens taking her time to walk up to the right side of the field, get everyone a chance to reset after what was a tremendous amount of pressure being applied there by the BYU attack. You can really see the pace that they're able to play with.
And they have such hard-charging forwards as well, too. It's going to draw that defense in, just unleashing the efforts they can use with that very talented backline.
Owens kick to Stanley, finds quickly the offload to Aquin. Aquin gets them just inside to of the the Hokie 10, just outside the 22 now. Back to the inside to Kylie Clark. Clark drives through the line, through the tackle of Kukkonen. Grange to Morissette. Morissette all the way out to the number 4, Peterson. Peterson steps one, gets her arms free and offloads to the outside to the hooker. Gubler. Gubler offloads to the outside again to Baker. Baker's driving through 1, through 2. She gets BYU just on the 5 now. BYU looking to continue to apply the pressure. Out to Morissette. Morissette to the hands of Clark again. Clark's met strongly there by Owens, but slips out of the tackle and offloads to Connick. Connick driving to the corner. She has support there on the edge if she can get the ball away. BYU now just 5 meters out from another try. Morissette moving it back into Grange. Grange to the hands of Peterson. Peterson carries it just about 7 meters out from the try line. Grange looking left again, trying to set up to Gubler. Or perhaps back to the right where the BYU backline is set. No, we will go to the forwards. Morissette swings it all the way out to Triple. Triple into the hands of Baker. Baker slides to the inside, looks for the offload, but it's not there. And we'll come back to a penalty for a high tackle. BYU applying all kinds of pressure there.
Virginia Tech doing their best to bend and not break, though, but this one giving up this penalty. They are so electric with ball in hand, Brigham Young is, and it's so difficult to just track in and be able to make the tackle. Something Virginia Tech, we've seen quite a good bit of finishing defensively, but here just giving up that penalty, there's not much you can do when you're scrambling consistently.
BYU will have a penalty about 7 meters out from the try line, just inside the left touch line, 15 meters. Looks like they're going to set up to tap and drive. Gubler with the tap. She gets about 2 meters out, continuing to drive through the forwards. See Beagley over the top. Driven through there. And BYU will get the try through the hands of number 5, Larissa Graham. Graham just spots a gap underneath the Virginia Tech defense, picks up, jumps her way through, keeps it under her chest, and puts BYU up 12-0 over the Virginia Tech Hokies with just about 15 minutes to go in this first half.
And Graham, the nursing major from St. Paul, Minnesota, you got the sense that with the field position they had, there was nowhere else they were going to go but forward. And just having the honor to get over the line there, it's all about just lowering your shoulder and finishing the job.
The definition of a team try, but Graham doing great work there to finish off the efforts of the rest of this Cougar team. We'll line up for the conversion by number 13, Rachel Strasdis. Just outside the right post, maybe 5 meters. No wind, beautiful day here in Matthews, probably 75 degrees. Slight cloud in the sky. Strasdis taking her time here. Conversion is up, and it is good. That'll take us to 14-0, BYU over Virginia Tech with just about 13 minutes to go in this first half. BYU hasn't had a lot of ball in hand during this game, Katie, but they've certainly made the most of converting those opportunities.
Yes, definitely. Virginia Tech has to come up with a solution to metaphorically stop the bleeding here. Be able to do what you need to do defensively, especially when you're on the try line. It's just when your back's against the wall, it's all about what's the extra effort you can do. They've got to lower the tackle height as well, too. That gave away the penalty, which resulted in the try.
Carr this time kicks left into the hands of Strasdis. Strasdis sizes up the opposition and decides to have a go of it. Still continuing to drive through. 3 or 4 Hokies there. Thought they had her down. Didn't. Through the hands of Grange. Grange goes back to the inside to Gubler. Grange again, out to Morissette. Morissette swings it out wide to the hands of Peterson. Peterson swings it to Aquin. Aquin out to Baker. Baker in space here, steps Owen. She's got one to beat. Just the fullback between her and the try line. Great tackle there from Fisher, assisted by the other wing on the far side from Tech. But looked by all accounts that Baker might have been off to the races. BYU continuing the attack here through the hands of Gubler. Gubler having a little go through the open field. Slips the tackle of her opposite number 2. She's down to the 5. Finally brought down there by a cover tackle of the 9, Donegan. But BYU just 5 meters out in almost the exact same position they scored the last try. Carried there by number 6, Stanley. They drive it again through the hands of the 8. Kanek at the line. We'll have a moment to confer about whether or not that ball was grounded.
Some deja vu there, Jonathan. Almost the exact same spot where we saw them scoop it up and dive over the line, and they'll have it again. One more try awarded.
That try from Sandy Kanik, just diving over, as you said, almost the same setup. They seem to have found a rhythm that's working for them. Get a slight break, move it across, bring the forwards in. The Hokies are going to have to find a way to stop the Cougars of BYU inside the 5, but great work there from BYU. The presence of mind to stick within their systems. One of the keys that Coach Tom Waka said would be a key to victory for this BYU squad. With just over 10 minutes left to go in this first half, though, that'll take the Cougars out to a 19-0 lead with the conversion to come.
And you have to give full credit there to Elisa Baker as well as Laura Gubler, just keeping that ball moving. Baker is an absolute speedster. She's very tough to bring down, as well as Laura Gubler, the future Spanish teacher. She's been just doing wonderful things to just blaze up field and make it so difficult for Virginia Tech, who's constantly reeling and battling back to try to defend. And then once you race your way all the way back to the line, you have to make a big front-up tackle, and that has proven to be very difficult for the Hokies.
Conversion from Strasdis, very similar to the last one, just about 10 meters to the right of the right side post. And it is up. And just like the last one, it is good. That conversion carries BYU out to a 21-0 lead with just about 10 minutes to go in this first half.
And BYU really just finding their stride now, just consistently working together. A lot of cohesion on this group, who's been through quite a regular season, playing a number of formidable opponents, Central Washington, Air Force as well, and Virginia Tech. They've consistently faced off against UVA 3 times in, which is quite a historic rivalry.
Carr's kick this time goes short under the 10 with a tackle by Owens on the big prop there, Beagley. BYU goes to the left. Sorry, Briggs. There's a turnover there from Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech will go back on the attack inside of the Cougar half. But immediately, the Cougars are over the ball there and produce a turnover of their own through the hands of number 7, Kylie Clark. Grange looks right into the hands of Morissette. Morissette has all kinds of support out to the outside. Missed tackle there from Owens on the number 12, Triple. Triple gets up and goes again. Still support to the right. Out into the hands of Gubler. Again, the hooker who had the big break to Aquin. Back to Gubler. Beautiful interplay there. Out to the outside of the hands of Heather Erickson. Erickson drives forward and gets the Cougars into the Hokie half. Back to the hands of Aquin to Morissette. Morissette sees the space. Nobody back there on the corner from the Hokies. Puts a kick in, being chased by Baker. It's just Baker and her opposite at the 15. Out to Morissette on the inside. Back out to the corner to the number 6. Into the 13, Rachel Strasdis. And Strasdis will put BYU back into the try zone. Beautiful stuff there from BYU, Katie.
That's just some beautiful flair there, Jonathan. That's what makes this game so exciting to watch. BYU seems like they're just having fun, running with the ball in hand, and it's all about just don't even need any communication. It's sort of knowing exactly where your teammate is, and Virginia Tech at this point just reeling a bit. There's not much you can do when they have so many potent attackers for BYU.
Beautiful recognition of space there by Morissette. The kick, though, fielded cleanly by Baker on the outside. A great demonstration of almost telepathic interplay between those backs in the open field for 3 or 4 passes before Strasdis eventually dots down in the corner. This time, a very difficult conversion angle from the left side for just about 3 meters off the left side touchline as she lines this one up.
It's just such a clever little over-the-shoulder pass, getting the ball outside, and then there was one more person to beat as well, too. They seem to just work off the ball as well, doing a great job to find space, which is consistently forcing Virginia Tech to constantly shift over, and that is some exhausting stuff.
That kick will be slightly off the mark from Strasdis. However, BYU will take a 26-point lead, 26-0. Over Virginia Tech with just about 7 minutes to go in this first half. You sense, Katie, that Virginia Tech is going to have to find a way to deal with Baker on the corner.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of the tasks at hand is to try to see how you can slow her down, which is one of the things that no one really would like to have that task at hand, because she has been electric so far.
Carr's kick goes into the hands of Graham. Tackled well there just outside the BYU 22. Grange moves it left into the hands of Beagley. Beagley with a little offload there, I believe, to Erickson on the outside. As the Cougars continue to drive through, but Virginia Tech comes up with a big turnover there. They move it away quickly to the hands of Jamie Kokkonen. Kokkonen, though, driven back into contact by our opposite number there. Carr to the outside to Owens. That ball does not go to hands, though, and is recovered by BYU. Real danger here for the Hokies if BYU can move the ball to the right quickly into the hands of Morissette. Aquin there was available, but moved it all the way to the outside to Erickson. But the call will be that Aquin was in front of Erickson as they move forward. Just an incidental obstruction relieves the pressure for Virginia Tech.
Fair play to that one for Aquin, just getting slightly ahead of it. But you get the sense that if they would have hit her on the move as well, too, it would have been just as difficult to bring her down. So fortunate turn of events there for Virginia Tech. Let's see if they can get something going here off of this set piece. As we said, they started with the first couple of minutes of this match absolutely on the front foot with this brilliant effort on the line out. Lightning quick, they moved the ball forward, picked up several meters. Let's see if they can do more of that right now.
Tech again with the same setup. 9 at the front of the line out. They swap right into the middle. Not fielded cleanly, though. BYU got a hand on it. Tech will have the advantage from the knock. Carr makes a dive at it, unable to field it cleanly. But we'll come back to the scrum to Virginia Tech just on the 15.
And BYU did very well just to get a fingertip on that ball, just to skip it forward. The one thing that can stop that go-forward momentum in the set piece from Virginia Tech is just really batting the ball back, making it difficult for them to handle it. If it's not cleanly taken to ground, it's hard to get some momentum going.
See the scrum here to Tech. Been a battle so far today in the scrums. Very evenly matched, these two teams. Tech set up just about 10 meters deep into the BYU half. Ball comes back cleanly to Donegan. Donegan to Carr. Hits it outside to Owen. Owen looking for Vitali on the corner. Gets the short ball, but she's covered well by the number 13, Strasdis. Tech now going again to the right to Carr. Carr to the outside. To the wing, Ross, who's come off her side to the far side. Not able to field it cleanly, but Fisher gets up and drives through 2 tackles. Tech now 10 meters deep into the the BYU half. They move it back inside to Greasy. Greasy finds her way through, creating some quick ball here, but BYU able to slow it down by driving immediately over the contact, and they're rewarded with a turnover. BYU looks to the right. And the big lock, Graham, puts her shoulders down and drives over the line. Grange out into the forwards. The forwards link up with Aquin. Aquin's got space on the right here with Erickson. Erickson steps back inside, tackled by Ross and Owens. Owens tries to take a page out of the BYU book, steps straight over, but puts her hands on the ground and will concede a penalty there. BYU really setting up that outside ball through the midfield pod with Beagley and Briggs, the two big prop forwards, athletically charging through. That time, using themselves as decoys to draw the defense and open up the outside. They'll be rewarded with a kick to touch here, and BYU will have a line out 30 meters out from the Virginia Tech try line.
You got the sense there was some frustration there from Jetta Owens, just trying to do anything she could to stop that forward momentum from BYU. Just had to pull that penalty, lost her footing, as you said. The momentum carried her forward. You got to keep your feet in the breakdown.
BYU's turn to not quite field it cleanly in the line out. Virginia Tech recovers it through the hands of Kokkonen. BYU recovers it themselves and drives Kokkonen into touch. Big work there from Beagley and Briggs to lock up on their opposite number prop and drive her through. Almost in the exact same spot now. The ruling, though, will be that there was a knock in the initial reach for the ball in the line out. Virginia Tech will have the opportunity for a scrum 5 meters in from touch, just about 10 meters deep into their own half.
Definitely an intriguing matchup if you think about Kokkonen and Briggs as well, too. Athletes that can carry the ball and move quite quickly with quite a head of steam. You have to envision that pressure that's being absorbed here in this scrum.
As we set up again for another scrum, 5 meters in. BYU looking to apply a lot of pressure here. They drive through the right side. Great drive there from the prop. Virginia Tech able to get it out, but not very cleanly. Owens having to stand up in the defense there, but Virginia Tech loses about 10, 15 meters on that ball. Greasy does a great job driving back forward, though, through the defense. Into the hands again of Megan Brown. Donegan feeds it back to Owens. Owens gets that ball away on the kick. Clears some of the pressure and will do the job of getting just about 20 meters, just shy of the 10, to give BYU a line out.
And Owens about a whisper away from that ball getting blocked right back in her face, but she, cool, under pressure, is able to get the ball off, and that relieves some of the wave of force going forward from BYU. They're just, any time that Virginia Tech has any amount of possession, they have to be thinking about where the pressure's coming from.
Gubler with a beautiful throw in there. Grange feeds it inside to Kanak, who's taken well there by the number 9, Donegan. Morissette to Triple. Triple feeds it back inside to Strasdis. Strasdis almost finds a gap, but still gets to the 10-meter line. Grange moves it again left to Gubler. To Aquin. Her kick blocked, though. Owens just couldn't quite field it cleanly. But we'll say that that was a offsides, I believe, from the kick coverage there. And Virginia Tech will have an opportunity to kick for touch just from the halfway line, Katie.
And that's just a brilliant display of athleticism there. Owens just kind of sort of reading the play, what's going on, gets up in the face and blocks that kick, and fortunately called back for the offsides. And Virginia Tech will take a minute to gather themselves, bring this one back, and try to see if they can hit the mark. You can't ask for better position here if they can utilize it. Shades of the early on in this matchup where they were able to really marshal that driving ball forward. And you've got to think that if they can move the ball to the space where BYU won't be able to get a hand on it, they can make it work.
Virginia Tech with a line-out opportunity here. 10 meters beyond the 22, probably 15 meters out from the try line. They opt for the full line-out again. We'll see if they can set it up to drive. Referees sensing that they're a little overeager to crowd that tunnel. Ask them to reset. Backs wide left for Virginia Tech, though. They go to the front. They lose it, though. BYU comes up big. Grange to the outside. They link up with the forwards into the hands of Morissette. Morissette kicks it into touch. Great presence of mind there from Morissette to realize time was out on the clock in a pressure situation to kick it into touch.
Yeah, almost looks like they did them a favor, too. They had plenty of space moving forward, and BYU just wants to exit this half because they certainly have been dominant so far.
That takes us to half now with Brigham Young leading 26-0 over the Virginia Tech Hokies. We'll be back in 10 minutes for the second half of this Women's D1 Spring Championship.
Power supporters as they push their team to greater endeavors. True commitment is all of this, and more. And what makes rugby?
The best one in every clip.
What makes Canterbury?
The silence. 20. Hey, 21. I put it bigger than Lisa. I put it bigger than Lisa.
When is training?
No, the girl who's not.
Where did you have the Gatorade bar? Second. What is your band's name?
Oh.
What is Chris Brown's deal?
What?
Crazy. Give me a scared face.
No. Damn, that's not what you got.
That looked like you were surprised.
Can I do a little like PSA at the end? Where Chris Brown, I thought of a rapper. Where's your laundry?
At home.
What did you hide in my backpack? Yell someone's name.
What's my middle name?
If that shit didn't feel
Maria.
good,
Why is it so hot here?
Southern California.
when that shit get hot, I'm gonna be mad. I ain't gonna
Count. I'll pull them up. 10 out of 10. Cool. Where are we going for dinner? My house. Who's the greatest Olympian of all time?
Wow.
Say something to impress me.
You're cute.
What are you wearing this morning? Why are you late?
I'm never late.
I was about to say nothing, but please don't put that. What do I look like when I leave?
I gotta show you. Can I show you?
Yes!
Hey! Why can't I come?
You weren't invited. Show me your game face.
Huh?
What did you do with my umbrella?
Broke it. What are you doing?
What can you do? Who has my car?
I don't know, like, it depends on what we want to do.
Rugby often promotes being the tough guy, but being a tough guy is being strong enough to speak up for yourself and your teammate at important times.
It's important to speak up when a teammate has a concussion because, one, they're our teammate, but two, they're our friends.
Good teammates look out for each other when it comes to concussion.
Do you think your teammate may have a concussion? It's your job to speak up.
With USA Rugby, I'm proud to support Team Up, Speak Up.
A program of the Concussion Legacy Foundation.
Team up! Speak up!
Take the pledge at teamupspeakup.org.
do have to get inside by like you don't have to be Mormon. You don't have to be a Mormon to go there. But like that means not to get inside.
Welcome back to Matthews, North Carolina, here at the Mecklenburg Sports Complex, where we rejoin the second half of this women's D1 Spring Championship between BYU and Virginia Tech. BYU leading 26-0. Virginia Tech going to have to find a way to change what's happening in this second half, Katie.
Yes, they have to find some answers for some brilliant work for the back three there for BYU. Kano Aquin as well as Rachel Strasdis. We've seen some good work from Heather Erickson and Alyssa Baker. She is absolutely on fire. She is so difficult to catch, let alone bring down.
Setting up here for the kickoff, just taking a minute to get things settled. Virginia Tech bringing on some substitutes. Number 22. Rejoining the action, Catherine Calderon had a brief spell in the first half.
Katie Calderon, she really made a big impact right away in the first couple of minutes off of Gracie Pierce was getting attended to for the blood sub, and now she'll make a revisit here.
Morsette's kick to Greasy, fielded cleanly, gets right into the 10 meters. Back to Calderon. Calderon right back onto the 10 meter. Donegan goes right to the hands of Brown. Donegan moves it to Carr. Carr to the outside to Vitali. Vitali tries to have a look at the loop around there from Carr. Holds it herself, takes the contact for her efforts. Virginia Tech here on the receiving end of a penalty though, and Carr will go quick. Carr goes to the left, puts it in the hand of Owens. Owens looking for the little chip kick through, puts a grubber in behind the BYU defense. Not fielded by Aquin there. Owens and Vitali. Great carrying, but Quinn does an amazing job to fight through the contact for BYU. Morissette takes the box kick, puts it directly into touch, unfortunately, but will do the job of relieving pressure for BYU there.
And credit to Virginia Tech off of the boot of Jetta Owens, just ferocity coming forward. She tries to get her, just bows her head down and just goes to work. And just missed the cue on the tackle there, but Aquin made her pay for that as well. I like that bit of ingenuity, though, going forward, trying to kick through. They've got to find some way to get past this defensive line for BYU. They've just been absolutely fierce, and Virginia Tech has not found a break.
Tremendous pressure there in the line out from BYU. Again, trying to stop the Hokies there from rolling with that driving maul they demonstrated in the first half. Calderon carries to the line. Donegan goes to the left to LaFlame. LaFlame tackled well there by BYU. BYU pouring on the pressure in the breakdown. Donegan really having to fight to get this one out. Donegan to Carr. Carr looked back inside, stepped out, and is met by the number 6. Stanley. Attack to the left again through LaFlame. LaFlame gets him back to gain line. Move it into the hands of Kokkonen. Kokkonen goes right onto gain line, but gets no more out of it. Donegan looks right, back into the forwards again to the hands of Brianna Lynch. Lynch met very strongly there by Kaylee Clark and Jane Duncan. Sorry, not Jane Duncan, Emily Briggs. Ball comes around to the outside. The hands of the Tech forwards were driven back 5 meters behind gain line. Donegan goes left to LaFlame. LaFlame looks to get the Tech attack back on front foot. Donegan to Lynch. Lynch held up in the contact there. Gonna have to get her knees to ground to be able to recycle this. No call from the ref yet as if it's maul, but now the Hokies pour in to try and recycle. Danger for them here if they can't get it to ground. BYU able to hold that up carried in there by Lynch. Lynch met very strongly by the BYU pack, and they produce a turnover from it, and will have a scrum for their efforts just inside their own half, about 15 meters in from the right-hand touchline.
But that's some draining stuff for Virginia Tech there. It's all about just how you come into contact. It has to keep the ball low, because if they can get their arms wrapped around you, it's going to be a wrestling match, and one that you don't want to get into with BYU.
Calderon for Virginia Tech, back off the field, replaced again by Grace Pierce. Must need a little bit of extra attention going to the half, using up some of her blood bend time. Scrum here for BYU, very comfortable. Ball up from Grange to Morissette. Morissette swings it all the way out to Erickson, but that one doesn't find the mark. Donegan putting on the pressure. And enough pressure that the Hokies will be rewarded with a scrum down. Forward pass there from BYU as they attempt to clear it out to the left-hand side. And the Hokies will have their best attacking opportunity of this half right on the BYU 22.
And that's all about extra effort there from Kayleen Donegan. She really was in hot pursuit the entire time, making it very difficult and forcing one of the very few errors that we've seen in transition, because there has been some excellent work as far as passing the ball and moving it and making Virginia Tech get to where they need to be. And that is just full credit to Donegan, the scrum half who's been everywhere for the Hokies. She's a construction engineering and management major. She's just used to being in that leadership role, but taking it on the front foot and forcing the turnover.
Calderon back on again for the Hokies. Certainly getting her exercise in, coming in and off from the sidelines.
Absolutely.
And once she gets in the field, making an impact. But we'll have a scrum down now, right on the BYU 22 to the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Jonathan, all about knowing your role. She really, every time she gets in, she has a couple good ball carries, makes a big impact there. It's one of the things you don't anticipate happening early in the match, but just a testament to the physical play on both sides. They're making those adjustments and really just working through the blood bin situation.
Steady scrum here. Donegan goes to the right with Ross on her outside, but she's tackled very well by Connick. Pick and go there from Megan Brown. Brown stuffed back, though. Donegan to the right to Greasy. Greasy tries to drive through her opposite number there, but it's taken down very strongly. But that ball's bouncing around. The call will be a high tackle. Carr looking to go quickly. Taps from the mark. Swings it out wide to Owens. Owens with Vitale on her shoulder. Backs herself, though. Goes through one. And is tackled on the outside by Strasdis. Ball bouncing around on the ground. Tech trying to clean it up here, but BYU applying all sorts of pressure. Tech eventually able to come up with it, but loses about 15 meters there. Back into the hands of Brown. Brown gets him right back into gain line. Donegan moves it right into the hands of Calderon. Calderon met there strongly by Strasdis again. Donegan to LaFlame. LaFlame loses that one, though. And Baker, the danger player, will pick that one up for BYU, and BYU will now go on to the attack. Picked up there by Kylie Clark. Virginia Tech trying to find a way to turn that ball back over in contact. They must have forced a little bit of a knock on there, because we'll come back to the original knock with a scrum down to BYU.
Jonathan, that's a textbook definition of a double tackle resulting in loss of possession and the knock forward. There's so much force straight away, just wasting no time. Good low body position into that contact. LaFlame, there's not much she could do with that one. I mean, the pure force coming from BYU. She actually did well to have decent low body position, but unfortunately resulted in the knock-on.
The knock will give BYU a chance here to launch into their attack again. So effective in the first half. Scrum down just about 10 meters into their own half. Very steady. Ball moved back. A little bit of pressure there. Onto the hands of Morissette. Morissette swings it out to Strasdis. Strasdis with the loop around there to triple. Was looking for Aquin on her outside, but they didn't quite have the timing there. Grange moves it right again. Looking for Aquin. Aquin has it. Puts it to boot. Finds some space behind the Virginia Tech defense. And that will roll into touch just inside the Virginia Tech 22.
And Aquin, she has been quite a decision maker here for BYU. And just to put the ball up in the air all the way down from Kamea, Hawaii. She's a Plain Wildlife Conservation major. Has lined out as well for the U20s in around 2017. And one of her heroes is Jordan Gray. We can certainly see shades of her play similar to some hard-charging runs that we've seen before. And this one finds touch for Virginia Tech here as BYU inching closer and closer. Virginia Tech's going to have to play some stalwart defense right now.
That ball spoiled by BYU. Moved out quickly to the hands of Kaylee Clark. Clark tackled on the line by LaFlame. Grange goes back to the right, into the hands of Briggs. Briggs drives ahead through the contact. Grange to the number 6, Stanley. Stanley drives through 2 before being brought down just about 10 meters out from the try line. Out to Morissette. Morissette swings it very wide to Strauss. Strauss has 2 on the outside. Gets it in the hands of Triple to Gubler, all the way to the corner to Baker, the try scorer. Baker does her best to recover that ball, but just can't quite get a handle on it there. BYU, though, 1 tick away from another try in this second half.
Gubler's pass just a little bit behind Baker as well. I mean, you get the sense that she's got absolute jets, too. Maybe accelerated just a little too soon. But as you said, just one little miscue. Certainly have another opportunity right here if they can steal it back.
Referee having a word with BYU about how she'd like that front row settled. Lots of power in the front row there for them through Beagley, Gubler, and Briggs, both in the open field and in the set piece. Virginia Tech will have a scrum just about 5 meters out from their own try line. BYU puts on the pressure. Stable there from Tech. A kick from Jetta Owens, again almost charged down, stays in field. Fielded by Baker. Baker with Aquin on her outside. Aquin fields it cleanly. Lots of support to the right. Into the hands of Strasdis. Baker looping to the outside, takes the offload. Baker looking for her wing partner Erickson. Finds Aquin back on the inside. Aquin steps in. Met strongly by the Tech defense. Almost turned over there, but not quite by the number 4, Pierce. Back out into the hands of Briggs. Briggs drives through. She's got a break. Just the 15 of Donegan, but Donegan can't stop. Emily Briggs, the 22-year-old sophomore from Plymouth, Minnesota, will open up the scoring in the second half for BYU, taking them out to a 31-0 lead.
And Briggs, that's a tall order to bring her down. She is just so much power going forward. And that was a well-worked team try as well, too, for BYU, just sharing the ball-carrying duties. There's nothing that you can do here. Donegan, she tried to get in as much as she could, but once Briggs has a full head of steam going forward, there's almost no effort that can stop her. She's going to get over that try line.
Beautiful try there from the prop. We'll set up a conversion right under the sticks for the number 13, Strasdis. He's been very successful with the boot so far today.
And Jonathan, bring that back several phases before the try was even scored. You have to give some credit to Gabby Vitale. She almost certainly stopped the try initially from being scored. She scrambled back, did the best that she could, because there was nothing but a wave of striped BYU jerseys in front of her, and she was able to stop it up just enough time. And really, it's all about for Virginia Tech just putting in the extra effort on defense. There's not much more that they can do. It's making sure that they're connecting, crossing the street together, and really launching, so it doesn't give BYU's very talented backline time to create any opportunities for an overload.
Conversion there is good. Takes BYU out to a 33-point lead with about 28 minutes to go in the second half of this Women's D1 Spring Championship. BYU certainly demonstrating the power and pace that got them here. As we mentioned earlier, a pair of big wins over UCSB, a very high-powered team themselves, and Stanford to get to this game. And we go back to the action. Carr's kickoff, fielded by Baker. She swings it to the outside. One broken tackle there. Strasdis breaks another. Third tackle finally brings her down with Carr, but Strasdis takes it all the way to the half. Grange moves it to Morissette. Morissette swings it out to the prop, Briggs, the try scorer. Briggs puts a strong fend out and gets her team all the way across half. She's still not down. Puts another fend. Moves it out to her front row partner, Beagley, but they don't quite find the connection in that pass. But BYU retains the ball, now 10 meters deep into the Virginia Tech half. Grange back to Aquin. Aquin swings it wide to Morissette. Morissette swings it all the way out to Strasdis. She has support here on the outside. Makes the break through the middle, though. Finds the hands of Morissette waiting for her. Morissette tackled by Ross. Carr gets her hands over, but can't quite come away with a turnover. Grange back to the inside to Clark. Clark breaks one, gets through the far side, brought down by Jetta Owens. Grange back to the left to Morissette. Morissette switches the fields, though, to Aquin. They sense the opportunity here. They try to move it wide, though, to the hands of Hannah Beagley. Lots of support out to the right. Maybe a case of being a little too excited about the opportunity, though. Beagley not able to hold on to that one. And Virginia Tech will have a scrum now, just inside their own 22.
And Jonathan, you got to talk about even just that decision to switch fields right there. They saw plenty of space. Virginia Tech just caught with their hips turned towards one direction, and very fortunate for the Hokies that Beagley actually just took her eyes right off the ball, but you can see right away she was like, that's on me, you know, that's my miscue here. But, I mean, you can't blame them for getting excited about plenty of space to work with towards the outside. If you're a prop forward and you get the ball in hand and you've got one defender to beat and plenty of space to the outside with support, you're absolutely going to go for it.
She'll have a chance to make up for it here in the scrum. Reset as we get ready to have a second go at it. Donegan looking very comfortable, ready for the feed. BYU putting on the pressure, but Tech holding strong. Donegan goes to the left. The hands of Owens. Owens goes with the kick. Very long clearance kick. And I believe Aquin may have touched that before it went out of bounds. And it is. Aquin with a rare miscue for her today. Gives Virginia Tech the opportunity for a line out inside the BYU half.
I mean, I'll take that one, Jonathan. Really just trying to be aggressive, trying to keep the ball in play. She knows it probably was an effort that maybe would have set them up for a ball here, but Virginia Tech, they'll take it anyway.
She's certainly been dangerous, ball in hand, when she was on the receiving end of those kicks. But the Hokies now with an opportunity for a line out. As we see some replacements coming on for BYU. BYU will retain the line out, though. Grange cleans it up into the hands of number 7, Kylie Clark. Clark gets all the way to the halfway. Grange to the left to Morissette. Moment of indecision there. Jetta Owens shoots up and finds the number 12. Triple behind gain line. BYU doing a good job, but not quite going to be able to make it. Virginia Tech forces the turnover. Carr goes quickly, moves it right into the hands of Owens. Owens looks right, backs herself and goes through a gap, but is met by a couple of BYU defenders and brought down on gain line. Carr to the left of the scrum half, Donegan. Donegan to Greasy. Tackled very strongly there by our opposite, Canuck, who will have an advantage there for offsides, I believe. Apologies, that was number 21, Taylor Johnston.
So what BYU doesn't want to do is just give up some of those penalties to get Virginia Tech a chance to get back into it. As Carr's going to take a minute just to crash it forward.
Donegan sets up to go right to Carr now. Carr swings it out to Owens. Owens met very strongly on gain line there by both Erickson and Strasdis. Moves it back in the infield to Duncan. Duncan takes several BYU defenders to bring her down, but they do bring her down just on the 22. Donegan taking her time to decide now to Carr. Carr swings it out wide to LaFlame. LaFlame slips one. Gets just back onto gain line. Again, I believe we'll have an offsides penalty here against BYU, and Carr will again go quick into the hands of, nope, fakes the switch, moves it back into Naja Ross. Ross met strongly there on the opposite side by Baker. Carr swings it to Owens, back into the number 4, Grace Pierce. Donegan to LaFlame. LaFlame, the other lock, carries it to the line. Covered there by Owen. Donegan to the right to Greasy. Greasy met very strongly in the contact by BYU defender. Donegan tries to throw it out to Calderon. Calderon again met strongly. BYU with fierce defense here, meeting the Hokies every time at gain line. Again into the hands of Megan Brown. Donegan goes quickly to Carr. Carr sees a gap, slips one, goes through. Canuck missed her, just barely got through, and she's tackled on the far side by Triple. Moves out quickly to LaFlame, to Grace Pierce. They swing it out to the wing. Nothing coming of it, though. BYU defense holding strong here. Donegan back inside to LaFlame. Drives up, but again met on gain line. Slow ball recycling out of this. You sense that Virginia Tech is going to have to find a way to increase the tempo. into the hands of Kokkonen. Kokkonen driven back strongly there by BYU, and Donegan will go again right to Calderon. Calderon carries, but is met strongly by Kaylee Clark. Clark drops her, and the ball moves out again to Carr. Carr swings it out to the hands of Vitali. Vitali steps back inside, finds a little gap, but is brought down well by the cover defense of BYU, looking right again. Nope, Donegan goes to the left, back into the hands of Calderon. She's met strongly and driven back. Ball is bouncing around, but again, it will be a penalty against BYU at the breakdown for offsides. Have to be careful here. It did have a first half yellow card at the breakdown. But Owens will take the opportunity to kick for touch and advance Virginia Tech, potentially in a scoring position for the first time this half.
And credit to Virginia Tech, a lot of poise here on the attack, as this just been a defensive feast for BYU, constantly applying the pressure. Virginia Tech, if they can just transfer the ball just a half tick quicker, they're going to be able to get around. If there's one point where BYU might be lacking just a slight bit, it's that really recycling over to get around the edge. But you have to give full credit to Virginia Tech for just consistently slamming the ball forward to try to draw on that defense. And now here, Virginia Tech, they've got to take advantage of the set piece. If ever there was a time for them to break the line, it would be now.
Tech opting this time for the four-person line out. They go quickly into the front to the hands of Jetta Owens, who was at the front of the line out. Possibly not surprising for a sevens player. But BYU will come through with heaps of pressure. Creating a turnover opportunity there. We'll see, that was a knock on. So for their pressure, they're rewarded with a scrum, just about 15 meters from their own try line, 5 meters in from the right-hand side.
I believe that was Pamela Patton just getting involved there, really just streaking through like a bullet, trying to do anything she could to push Virginia Tech back.
Morissette set back directly in the pocket behind the scrum. She's been so clinical with the boot today, both her and Aquin for the BYU Cougars. Stable scrum, good platform, back to the hands of Connick, but Virginia Tech gets a bit of a drive on. The 8 picks and goes to the open field, cleared there by Clark. Grange comes in to make sure it's secure herself as she marshals her forwards around to create a better opportunity for the kick, I believe. But the BYU forwards say, we'll do it, drive it forward, but it goes now back to the hands of Morissette. Morissette kicks it cleanly into space. Great kick, just about 2 or 3 feet in from the touchline on the initial bounce. Takes another 15 meters after that, and they'll drive Virginia Tech all the way back into their own half to try and start their attack again.
And you can see both teams just starting that slow march back to the point where that line out will be, but that was just what the doctor ordered for BYU. As they'll get some fresh legs in, as we see a few reserves taking the field now. Bailey Deuce, and another replacement as well. And Virginia Tech with the line out now.
Virginia Tech is able to take this one cleaner. Back into the hands of Calderon. Calderon carries to gain line. Stopped on the 10 by both Grange and Clark. Tech moves it wide. Carr to Vitali. Looking for a little loop around there. Carr to the hands of Owens. There are numbers on the outside now. Naja Ross trying to turn the corner on Baker, the speedster. But Baker comes up with a big tackle. Covered well there. At the breakdown by Anya Fisher. They try and drive it back in field. Strasdis perhaps a step too quick over the line, though. Is called for the intentional, I believe, for the intentional knockdown.
Hey, subs, let's go, full energy,
And Virginia Tech will have the opportunity to kick themselves out of their own half.
And much better stuff from Naja Ross as well, too, just to trust her speed to try to get to the outside, but quite a formidable opponent in Baker as well. But she still did well to gain some go-forward momentum, just exactly what was needed, which created the penalty situation. Ross from Reston, Virginia, mechanical engineering major. So one of her heroes is Beyonce and Serena Williams as well, too. Two great icons to look forward to. And Ross, that's exactly what we wanted to see more from her from Virginia Tech.
Back at the 4-person line out, but BYU has stolen this one. We will say, though, short arm penalty. They came in and closed the channel just a bit too early. So Virginia Tech will have the short arm penalty here on the 15, just about 10 meters deep into the BYU half. Donegan appears to be setting up for the tap. Moment of discussion between her and Owens about what might be best. She goes into the hands of LaFlame. Flame drives through 2 BYU defenders before being brought down just about 5 meters short of the 22. Into the hands of Duncan. Duncan drives forward, but Grange is over the ball here and comes away with the turnover. BYU looking to move it quickly. There is space to the right if they can move it fast. But Grange taking her time. Moves it to the big number 4, Gabrielle Peterson, who goes through several defenders before being brought down just short of the half. Morissette swings it wide now. The 11, Erickson. Erickson caught behind gain line, though, by Owens. We see Morissette looking right again, all the way out to the corner to the wing. The wing is broken 1, broken 2. She's into her 3rd tackle now, is the BYU wing, before being brought down 10 meters deep. Grange has a go herself, takes another 10 meters, pops it out of the contact there beautifully to Gubler. Gubler does a great job of recycling. Can't quite keep a hold of it, though, as she gets beyond the Virginia Tech 22. It'll be a penalty to Virginia Tech, who seem to be in no hurry now to take this one quickly.
Yes, certainly. They absolutely have to just take a moment to catch their breath. Really fortunate turn of events for Virginia Tech, because BYU, there was not much stopping them. A ton of go-forward rugby, a lot of interchange, and just beautiful stuff. This cohesiveness of this Cougar team. They really just seem to really enjoy tossing the ball around and creating some opportunities on attack.
BYU sitting in a few more substitutes now. Bringing on number 19, Gina Young, the senior, out of Escondido, California. And it'll be a line out to Virginia Tech, 10 meters deep in their own territory with just about 15 minutes left to play. Taken cleanly to the hands of Donegan. Donegan feeds it to the hooker, Lynch. Lynch carries right to gain line, but is met strongly by the BYU forwards, who are now making a mess of that breakdown, forcing Virginia Tech to commit some resources. Carr comes away with it to the hands of Owens. Owens on to Vitale on the little loop around. Didn't fool BYU, though. All the Hokies to the left, essentially, now. To LaFlame. LaFlame met strongly there on gain line by Connick, who's made so many tackles today for the BYU team Cougars. They move it across to Calderon. Calderon locked up there by the prop Briggs. And a big tackle comes in from the number 23 there. Number 20, apologies, not quite sure on the number, but a big tackle from BYU drives Virginia Tech back to their own 22. Virginia Tech now in their 22, looking to try and establish some rhythm. They move into the hands of Calderon, who's met just about a meter behind gain line. Out to the hands of Carr. Carr to Owens. Owens with another little grubber kick through. This one fielded with time, though. But we'll go back to an advantage. Owens made that kick knowing she had the advantage to kick it away, I believe. We'll go back to a penalty advantage for the high tackle. A few phases before. And Virginia Tech will have an opportunity to start their attack again.
Yeah, think about just punching that ball forward. You might get lucky just with having a wing running on. Ross as well was there in place, but BYU gathered it up no problem, so benefit to going right back. As Virginia Tech, much more fortunate to boot the ball downfield and gain quite a bit of territory.
This game being played at a very high rate of speed. See a substitute come on now, number 21 for Virginia Tech, Taylor Redney, 19 out of Raleigh. She'll replace Jamie Kokkonen.
Kokkonen's been quite a ball carrier for Virginia Tech and really just absorbing quite a bit of pressure for the repeated scrums that we've had all match long. This has been quite an effort, too. So many lineouts. It has a lot to do with the speed and ability of the wings and just the defensive pressure. How much these teams have done such a great job to push them into touch over and over is just a testament to the number of times that we've seen this brilliant battle between BYU and Virginia Tech in the line-out.
The line out there from Tech not straight. BYU will opt to have a line out of their own. They go with a full line out, all the forwards in together. Grange in at the 9 position this time. It's a short ball though, right into the hands of Emily Briggs. And BYU tries to get rolling now 10 meters deep into the Virginia Tech half. They put it into the hands of Stanley. Stanley again driving forward, takes another 5. Grange goes to the right, keeps it in the forwards again, back to the hands of Gabrielle Peterson. Grange comes back to the left, into the hands of Taylor Johnston. Johnston takes another 5. Good forward progress being made here by the BYU pack. And now it'll go wide to Morissette. Morissette looks wide to the hands of Baker. Baker, the danger player so far. Tackled well there by Carr in the midfield, but a lot of BYU Cougars out to the left. Oh, beautiful kick there from Strasda. Sees the space in behind, being chased. Covered cleanly by the 15 from Virginia Tech, Anya Fisher, under all kinds of pressure. She's having to fight through the contact. Only thing she could do there, but concedes the penalty to BYU. BYU will now have a chance to attack just 5 meters out from the Virginia Tech try line.
Jonathan, that's just high risk, high reward. You like that little bit of creative play. She saw that the defense was rushing up and saw if you put the ball to the boot and can just get it to bounce on that nice third bounce if they had a chance at it. And now solid position, and they'll go quick with it.
Right back into the hands of Peterson. Peterson able to find the line. 5 more points for BYU. 10 minutes left in this women's D1 championship, and Peterson will push BYU out to a 38-point advantage over Virginia Tech. Just looked to be simple stuff there off the tap, Katie.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there was no doubt whatsoever that there was going to be a tap and just punch it over the line. So Peterson, she's absolutely done so many wonderful things. She's one of the upperclassmen from Spokane, Washington, and just done some excellent sort of hard work, like maybe not getting all of the credit for all the ball carries there. So really fortunate to see her get her shot to get over the try line.
Certainly a bit of fatigue creeping in now. Tech having to spend so much of this half defending and expending so much energy for the offensive gains that they have gotten. Since then, there was just not much left in the tank to defend on the goal line.
Absolutely. You know, Peterson had just a full head of steam going forward, and Virginia Tech, it takes so much out of you to just consistently defend and launch up repeatedly over and over. But still hanging in there to finish out this match strong. They've had such an exceptional season. There's so much to be said for this team and how much they've done. A lot of it has been independent on their own, but there's tons of credit to Mick Lee and Garrett Thompson. It's a really unique coaching duo. They've sort of been working and coaching by collaboration. So Mick Lee came on later on in the season. He's actually the forwards coach for the Hokie men. And then Garrett Thompson is the lead role as director of rugby for Roanoke College. And they really were just very impressed with the effort that Virginia Tech had put in on their own and then really worked together to sort of split the coaching duties as they moved forward. It's created such a storybook season for Virginia Tech, who has consistently been performing in the Division I level.
Conversion there from 17, Tiana Tolman not through. The BYU still maintains a 38-point advantage, and the kick from Carr did not go 10, but BYU opts for the re-kick. Carr this time makes good and kicks it through past the 22 on a nice bounce into the hands of Peterson, the try scorer. Peterson steps one around Owens, and she's looking for support on the outside. Drives through and is finally brought to ground by LaFlame. Ball's moved left. The hands of Pamela Patton, who's driving the BYU Cougars all the way up to the half, but maybe does a little too much work on the ground there. And is called for not releasing, and Virginia Tech will have a chance to kick into the BYU half.
And Patton has certainly come on as a reserve to make a big impact. We've seen several just crunching tackles from her, and she is a formidable opponent that's tough to bring down. Another upperclassman from Walla Walla, Washington. And her inspiration for playing, she absolutely loves Portia Woodman and Iana Meyer as well, too. Two ferocious ball carriers and brilliant decision makers.
Virginia Tech will have a chance for a line out here. They opt for the 4-person setup again, right on the 22-meter line. Throw comes into Brown, not fielded cleanly though. BYU will come away with this one cleanly, right on their own 22. Grange having to scrap for that ball. A little too much pressure there from LaFlame. Results in a penalty against the Hokies. Morissette sets up to relieve the pressure. Settle things a little bit. Run some time off the clock. 7 minutes remaining here. Morissette's kick, though, is going to stay in field. Fielded by Nadja Ross, who just can't quite hold on to it and ends up in touch. That'll give BYU a line-out chance there. Fortunate break for the Cougars. They'll take the line out 10 meters deep into the Virginia Tech territory.
You gotta love just that little show of sportsmanship too from the reserve from BYU, as Christina Miller came over to Ross and just gave her a little tap. We all know what the pressure is like when that high ball is coming down. You might be in good position, but it's another thing to be able to field it cleanly.
BYU now moving again. Morissette swings it all the way to the outside to Strauss. Strauss hits Aquin. She hits Baker on the loop around. Baker in space now. Covered well there by Jetta Owens. The two centers working together to try and figure out a way to bring Baker down. Morissette swings it back in the infield to Stanley. Stanley gets right to gain line, but is stopped well there by the Virginia Tech defense. BYU moves to the left again. Morissette out to 21. Taylor Johnson. Johnson makes a break there through the Virginia Tech. We look to go quick. Out to the left again. The hands of Morissette. Morissette looks to feed to Gubler, but goes herself. She's just 2 meters out now. Into the hands of Patton, and Patton will drive her way through, find a try of her own, and 5 points more for BYU will bring them, with just about 5 minutes left on the board, to a 43-0 lead.
And not surprised one bit there, Jonathan, with Patton. She's just been everywhere since she's stepped foot on the field, just doing a lot of extra bits of work, and she certainly has stepped up for BYU. But you got to bring it back to Morissette as well, too. She has just been such a staunch decision maker here. This time around, thought about the offload pass and just really did a little bit of a spin coming forward, kept the ball alive into the waiting hands of Patton, who was able to get over the line.
The replacement scrum half there. Replacement scrum half, Christina Miller for BYU, doing a good job to marshal the BYU forwards around the field and continuing the pace it's been set so far this game.
Tiana Tolman.
Tolman's kick is up and looks to be just outside the right post. Plenty of leg there, just slightly offline, but a difficult kick from the outside corner. Just about 4 minutes and change remaining here in the Women's D1 Spring Championship, where BYU leads Virginia Tech 43-0. Katie, really a clinical display in most of the facets of the game from BYU today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just, an absolute just arsenal of different weapons that they've been able to utilize. I mean, they have speed, they have great passing skills, and the second that you think they've used all the tools in the toolbox, they pull something else out, and the reserves have come on and just made it even stronger.
That kick fielded cleanly by Marin Spears. They move it back out to the try-scorer Patton up the short side. Patton drives up, gets a beautiful offload off the ground, pops it back to number 4, Peterson. Go back to the inside, just about 15 meters infield through the hands of Taylor Johnston. Miller swings it to the right, has a little go of her own, swings it out to Morissette. Morissette sees Jetta Owens jumping up, sees the space in behind though, and puts in a kick. Trouble here for Virginia Tech, but they're able to field that cleanly. Anya Fisher wisely dotting it down. Lots of pressure from Baker and Erickson there. Baker on the corner. She hadn't been able to get a hand to that one. Looked like it might have been another try for the Cougars.
And Anya Fisher's really been an athlete for Virginia Tech that really maybe doesn't get all the credit for a lot of the work that she's been doing. She's from Annapolis, another upperclassman, and she's just absolutely kept Virginia Tech going and doing the little things like having the presence of mind to touch the ball down.
Drop out from Owens, fielded cleanly by Aquin, right on the half. Aquin keeps her feet moving, drives it up into the field, right back into the hands of the replacement 9, Miller. Aquin moves it to the outside to Patton. All the way out to the corner to Tiana Tolman, getting her first chance, I believe, with ball in hand. Slips 2, slides back inside, continues driving, and Tiana Tolman is just held up, I believe, by Anya Fisher. Katie, if Fisher managed to avoid that try, that is a tremendous defensive effort.
Oh, Fisher just did everything within her power. She literally climbed on her back and somehow was able to get an arm somewhere close to the ball. So if they can pull that one back, and from this angle, it looked like she did. You know, we take another look at it here, and Tolman was just the recipient of some brilliant ball work, just moving the ball consistently. Aquin was everywhere. She's like kicked it into the next gear in terms of being able to move the ball.
And it is ruled that Fisher comes up with a big stop there. Amazing she was able to hold Tolman up. BYU, though, will still have an opportunity to attack. Just 5 meters out, they'll have the attacking scrum. About 15-ish meters in from the touchline. So we see some substitutions coming on for Virginia Tech. Number 20 and number 19, Melissa Gabriel and Haley Bonilla.
And Jonathan, really, you can't ask for a better ending for Anya Fisher of a really tough match. You know, the scoreline doesn't match the effort that's here, and that's just an example of what the Hokies have been doing consistently. Players like Anya Fisher have never quit. They've just been going the entire time, doing anything possible. I mean, she's literally facing an athlete twice her size, climbs on top, and then does anything she can to get her hands underneath, and forcing the scrum now here for BYU. We'd really love to see the Hokies just be able to apply the pressure here as the seconds keep ticking off the clock. And they have so much to be proud of here for this brilliant run all the way to make it to the championship final.
Strong scrum from BYU, driven forward by Peterson off the back there, filling in at 8. Appears to have touched that ball down.
It looked to me like it was lost, maybe trying to touch it down, because there was some serious effort by Megan Brown just to try to get in the way. She threw her whole body at that one.
I believe the try has been awarded, though. Knock ruled to be caused by the contact with the ground and the process of scoring, or downward pressure on that. So BYU will tack on another 5 points there, bringing them out to a 48-point lead with what presumably will be no time left on the clock here after Tolman takes the conversion.
Yeah, the product of that ball just sort of bouncing as soon as the contact happened is just a credit to the contact that was put forth by Brown from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She's just withstood the onslaught of pressure from BYU and a tough role at flanker all day long. Haley Morgan as well, too. They've been asked to do so much work around the breakdown over and over.
Tolman taking her time to line up the kick here. Just about 15 out from the left side post. No wind. Rolls her shoulders. Little stretch at the end of the day.
And this would just be the icing on the cake for BYU at the very end.
That kick is up, but it'll go off the left side goal post. Looks like we'll have just enough time for the restart. But BYU, with no time left on the clock, leads this women's D1 spring championship 48-0.
And the first player back to the center is Kern Carr. She's just absolutely been the inspirational leader for this group, doing everything possible for Virginia Tech. There's so much asked of these student athletes, and she has answered every single time.
Carr's kick is up. Fielded cleanly there by number 22, Marin. Moves to the left for BYU. Through the hands there, into the big hands of Peterson, who's been so strong for them today, carrying the ball and a try scorer in her own right. Back to the inside, the hands of 21, Johnston. Johnston driving across halfway. Miller now looks to set to Morissette. Morissette swings it out to Aquin. Aquin puts a boot in, a high ball out to the corner. But that will be it, folks. And BYU, by virtue of a 48-0 win over Virginia Tech, are your 2019 Women's D1 Spring Champions. Katie, what a game for them today.
Oh, certainly. I mean, BYU has so much to be proud of. They were just absolutely clinical in execution of attack, and they are a force to be reckoned with in defense, too. It's just a complete team effort. Tom Waka has so much to be proud of with this group. And Virginia Tech, they have just done everything in their power. It's been quite a season for them. So many brilliant moments leading up to this point, and they can hold their heads high, saying that they matched up against quite a formidable opponent.
That'll be it for us here today in this Women's D1 Championship. Stay tuned. We've still got our Women's D2 Spring Championship coming up next between Salisbury University and Fresno State in just about 15 minutes. But for Katie Wurst and our entire crew here with Flow Rugby, I'm Jonathan Atkinson, thanking you for tuning in.